International Trade. Reagan Chapters 19 and 20. The Gains from Free Trade. 1. Discuss Adam Smith's theory of absolute advantage and David Ricardo's theory of comparative advantage. Illustrate the gains from trade. 2. Imported good. Example, D equals 12, 2P, S equals 2P, PW equals 1. Figure 19 to 6. 3. Exported good. Example, D equals 12, 2P, S equals 2P, PW equals 5. Figure 19 to 5. 4. Are there any disadvantages from free trade? Eco 101H5 Fall 2023 Copyright University of Toronto. 5. Illustrate two-country equilibrium where DA equals 18, P, SA equals P, 6, DB equals 12, P, SB equals P, 4. A. Illustrate two-country equilibrium. B. Illustrate the changes in CS, PS, and TS. Import tariffs. 6. Supply and demand are given by D equals 12, 2P and S equals 2P. The world price is PW equals 1. A. Illustrate the import market. B. Compute and illustrate CS, PS, and TS. C. Illustrate the impact of AT equals 1 tariff in this market. Figure 20 to 1. D. Compute and illustrate CS, PS, GS, and TS. Eco 101H5 Fall 2023 Copyright University of Toronto. Import quotas. 7. Supply and demand are given by D equals 12, 2P and S equals 2P. The world price is PW equals 1. A. Illustrate the import market. B. Compute and illustrate CS, PS, and TS. C. Illustrate the impact of AQ equals 2 quota in this market. Figure 20 to 2. D. Compute and illustrate CS, PS, LS, and TS. Quantity. Price. Eco 10185 Fall 2023 Copyright University of Toronto. Labor mobility. 8. In Canada labor supply is SC equals W60 and labor demand is DC equals 180, W. In Mexico labor supply is SM equals W40 and labor demand is DM equals 120, W. A. Calculate equilibrium wages and employment in closed economies. B. Provide a two-country diagram showing the benefits from free trade in labor markets. C. Explain commuting. Capital markets. 9. Discuss the benefits of free trade in international capital markets. Eco 101H5 Fall 2023 Copyright University of Toronto. Tutorial questions. 1. Domestic supply and demand for an internationally traded good are given by S equals P, 2 and D equals 24, P. The world price is $5. Next month the government will introduce an import tariff of $3. Calculate the efficiency loss. Provide a supply and demand diagram to illustrate this calculation. Explain how the size of the efficiency loss will depend on the elasticity of supply and demand. 2. Calculate and illustrate the volume of exports under a free trade policy with PW equals 60, D equals 80, P and S equals P. Explain how the size of the efficiency gain will depend on the elasticity of supply and demand. Eco 101H5 Fall 2023 Copyright University of Toronto. 3. Calculate and illustrate consumer surplus under a free trade policy with PW equals 10, D equals 60, P and S equals P. Explain how the size of the efficiency gain will depend on the elasticity of supply and demand. 4. An internationally traded good has a world price of P equals $2. Domestic demand and supply are D equals 16, P and S equals P. Next month an import quota Q equals 6 will be introduced for domestic producers. Provide a supply and demand diagram to illustrate this calculation. Explain how the size of the efficiency loss will depend on the elasticity of supply and demand. Eco 101H5 Fall 2023 Copyright University of Toronto. Review questions. 1. A $1 per liter tariff on all wine imported into Canada will A. Protect the production of cheaper wines more than expensive wines. B. Create an incentive to produce better quality wines. C. Equally protect the production of all Canadian wines. D. Protect the production of expensive wines more than cheaper wines. 2. The principle of comparative advantage was first formulated in the 18th century by A. Thomas Malthus. B. Adam Smith. C. David Hume. D. David Ricardo. 3. The imposition of a tariff on an imported good causes consumer surplus to and producer surplus to A. Decrease, increase. B. Increase, decrease. C. Increase, increase. D. Decrease, decrease. 4. A country that engages in no foreign trade is said to be in a situation of A. Absolute advantage. B. Autarkia. C. Isolation. D. Comparative advantage. 5. The existence of any gains from trade relies on A. Comparative advantage. B. Absolute advantage. C. Both absolute and comparative advantage. D. Closed economies. 6. Economies of scale and product differentiation can provide an explanation for A. Intra-industry trade. B. The imposition of trade barriers. C. Countries remaining at their autarkic positions. D. Absolute advantage. E. Countries trading in completely different products. 7. If Canada's index of export prices is 250 and the index of import prices is 200, then the index of the terms of trade is 8. The effect of the imposition of a new tariff is to domestic production of the commodity and the domestic consumption of the commodity. C. Decrease, increase. D. Increase, increase. 9. A 10% tariff on all wines imported into Canada will A. Provide no protection at all to the Canadian wine industry. B. Protect the cheaper wines at the expense of the expensive wines. C. Protect the expensive wines more than the cheaper wines. D. Equally protect the production of all Canadian wines. 10. Efficiency gains from the introduction of free trade in an export market will be largest when A. Demand is inelastic and supply is elastic. B. Demand is elastic and supply is inelastic. C. Demand is elastic and supply is elastic. D. Demand is inelastic and supply is inelastic. 11. Efficiency gains from the introduction of free trade in an import market will be largest when A. Demand is inelastic and supply is elastic. B. Demand is elastic and supply is inelastic. C. Demand is elastic and supply is elastic. D. Demand is inelastic and supply is inelastic. 12. Efficiency losses from the introduction of a quota in an import market will be largest when A. Demand is inelastic and supply is elastic. B. Demand is elastic and supply is inelastic. C. Demand is elastic and supply is elastic. D. Demand is inelastic and supply is inelastic. 13. Efficiency losses from the introduction of a tariff in an import market will be largest when A. Demand is inelastic and supply is elastic. B. Demand is elastic and supply is inelastic. C. Demand is elastic and supply is elastic. D. Demand is inelastic and supply is inelastic. 14. Efficiency gains from the elimination of a tariff in an import market will be largest when A. Demand is inelastic and supply is elastic. B. Demand is elastic and supply is inelastic. C. Demand is elastic and supply is elastic. D. Demand is inelastic and supply is inelastic. ECO 101H5 Fall 2023 Copyright University of Toronto. 15. Supply and demand are given D equals 200. 20p and S equals 20p. 40. Currently the government allows a free trade policy at a world price of $3. A. Provide a labeled supply and demand diagram along with supplementary calculations to assess how the introduction of an import quota of 40 units will affect consumer surplus, producer surplus, licensee surplus and total surplus. B. On your diagram illustrate how the gains from trade would increase if demand was more elastic. Provide numbers. For A equals and B equals that would make the demand curve D equals A, BP more elastic than D equals 200, 20p. 16. Canadian demand for strawberries is given by D equals 16,000, 2000p and the supply by domestic producers is given by S equals 2000p, 4000. Canada imports strawberries. The world price is only P equals 3. Next month the Minister of Finance will introduce an import quota of 4,000 units in this market. A. Provide a labeled supply and demand diagram and supporting calculations to assess how this import quota will affect price and quantity in the strawberry market. B. Blueberries are a substitute in consumption for strawberries. When analyzing how this quota on strawberries will affect the well-being of local blueberry producers, explain why the price elasticity of demand for strawberries an important consideration. 17. The demand for oranges in Canada is given by D equals 1,000, 100p and supply by domestic producers is S equals 200p, 200. The world price is $2 per orange. A. Provide a labeled supply and demand diagram showing the market for oranges and supporting calculations to explain why a tariff of $1 would create a welfare loss in this market. B. A journalist suggests that this tariff will be bad news for Canadian apple growers, firstly because apples are a substitute in consumption for oranges, and secondly because the Canadian demand for oranges is very inelastic. Provide a second supply and demand diagram showing the market for apples. Do you agree with this claim? 18. Supply and demand for an imported good are given by QD equals 30, 4p and QS equals 6 plus 2p. Currently Canada allows free trade at a world price of $2. A. Trade disputes lead the Canadian government to implement an import quota at Q equals 6 units for this good. Provide a labeled diagram and calculate how introducing an import quota will affect consumer, producer, and licensee surplus in the economy. Label the deadweight, efficiency, loss. B. Clearly explain which elasticities are most important when trying to predict how much total surplus will decline when a quota is implemented. Eco 101H5 Fall 2023 Copyright University of Toronto. 19. An island economy imports milk. Demand is D equals 24, 2p, supply is S equals 2p, and the world price is equal to $1 per liter. Next month the governor will implement a tariff of 1 per liter on milk imports. Provide a labeled supply and demand diagram to illustrate and quantify the impact of this tariff. A. The efficiency loss will be equal to ____. Revenues collected from the tariff will be equal to ____. Illustrate the efficiency loss and revenues in your diagram. B. The governor gets greedy. He has asked for your help in recalculating the tariff rate. His goal is to maximize the revenues that his government will collect from the tariff. The revenue maximizing tariff rate is $_ per liter. Revenues collected from the tariff will be equal to ____. You do not need to draw this part in your diagram. Eco 101H5 Fall 2023 Copyright University of Toronto. 20. The demand for oranges in Canada is given by D equals 100, 10p, and supply by domestic producers is S equals 20p, 20. The world price is $2 per orange. A. Provide a labeled supply and demand diagram showing the volume of imports in the market for oranges at a world price of $2. B. Next month the government will introduce a tariff of $1 in this market. Use the same diagram to show how this policy will affect the volume of imports, consumer surplus, producer surplus, and government surplus. See shade in the efficiency loss in from this policy.